Threats. A threat, in this instance, is any rival who has the potential to be promoted ahead of you. An additional threat is your boss recovering their reputation, perceived power, and getting out of the danger zone. Consider anything which can serve to disrupt your path to success as a potential threat. Look for threats constantly and use the same principles to thwart them. Specifically, act covertly to reduce the power of any parties which threaten to disrupt your plans. Step 5. Take action. Leaving threats aside, refocus on the current example. Here, an opportunity has presented itself to create a deception. It may well be the case that you have a close relationship with the person identified to start the flow information, in which case it might be possible to conspire. If your boss is truly useless, and your target's team is truly dependent on an improvement in your team's performance, and your target aims to see that happen, you could theoretically agree to work together in order to perpetuate some information that will damage the reputation of your boss. But take a moment to look at some of the risks. Your collaborator is another person who can be discovered and the conspiracy could come back to you. You have revealed to another person that you wish to conspire. This will have an effect on their opinion of you and your trustworthiness. Your collaborator may change their mind, in which case you will have sabotaged your chance to deceive them by revealing your goals. Your collaborator may alter the plan to suit their own goals and compromise your strategy. With deception, you only run the risk of being found out yourself, and it's quite possible to attempt a deception with plausible deniability. For the purposes of this example, say you are on friendly terms with this person and may eat lunch or take coffee with them roughly once a week. Show an active interest by asking them questions. Mix in questions about their work with a normal, personal interest in the person. Try to focus on pursuing lines of conversation about which they're willing to talk. There is a good chance this will relate to their interests, which will relate to their goals. Look for something in their goals which is affected by your boss' actions. Say their team handles delivery, while your team handles production. This is a simple paradigm, given that the example relies on their team's dependence on yours. Establish the issues facing delivery and analyze elements of your boss' behavior which could be revealed, in order for your target to arrive at the conclusion your boss is bad news. This could be a tendency to ignore the demands of shipping when forming a production schedule. It's important not to do this at a time when your target is specifically talking about their issues. You should also reveal the information in such a way that does not arouse suspicion. For example, when a natural opportunity arises, you might explain the way your boss scheduled production, which clearly illustrates the absence of shipping. At this point, the example has reached such a degree of specificity that it is almost certainly impossible to directly relate to your circumstances. You will always need to look for opportunities specific to your own situation when engaging in manipulation. This will require you to act ingeniously by giving yourself as much information as possible. You have now planted the seed of an idea in your target's head. Your boss is having a negative impact on your target's professional success due to their methods. In the eyes of your target, the goals of your boss fail to align with their own. They must go. You have recruited someone to do your bidding without arousing suspicion. You have maintained a normal coworker relationship but achieved a deception by actively controlling the flow of information to those who have power over your future. If all goes according to plan, the next time your coworker falls behind in their work or struggles to make a deadline, they'll know exactly who to blame. Their team leader will relay this information to their superiors and your boss will become even more of a problem than before, edging closer to their professional doom. Step 6. Learn and improve. Unfortunately, your plan has every chance of failure. It might be that your boss manages production in the way they do for an important reason, one which might be recognized by their superiors. In that case, it could even backfire. But at least you weren't rumbled. Take note from this manipulation attempt and use it to inform your future efforts. There is no way to predict the future perfectly, but looking at the past is the best way to get an approximation. Use the ideas of this methodology to develop your own strategies and manipulate the world around you for your own ends. Analysis. This chapter relates back to aspects of the previous chapter on the methodology of manipulation. By learning methods of analysis, you can develop a better understanding of the parties which have power to help you achieve, or prevent you from achieving, your goals. A large part of this is practice observing behaviors and then try to predict actions based on patterns you have observed. Test your accuracy in this regard, reflect on why you failed to make an accurate prediction and then try to remedy that in future. You will naturally improve with time. Self-analysis. An excellent way to begin understanding the actions and determining the goals of others is to start analyzing yourself. Keep a note of your actions and observe yourself as if you were observing a third party. Understand why you took an action and, in particular, whether it helped or hindered your efforts to achieve your goals. What you are trying to do is achieve objectivity, which you can use to make good decisions regarding your own future. Note that the terminology used here is good decisions. You may already be making rational decisions, but that does not mean they are necessarily good. You could be making those rational decisions based on your ill-informed knowledge of what type of behavior works in your favor and what type of actions work against you. By improving your knowledge and gaining perspective through objectivity, you can make better decisions. Analyze, 2, your instincts. Consider your instinctive reaction to a situation. What provokes an impulse in you to become emotional? What provokes you to make clearly irrational decisions, i.e., taking actions which offer you no value at all, yet you take them all the same? With self-analysis, you can recognize the occasions a decision has a negative effect on your power. When people see you out of control, for example, they will judge you to be a less reliable option for assistance in achieving their goals, reducing your perceived power. The natural conclusion, and lesson to learn, is that controlling your immediate reaction is almost always the correct choice. Do not act until you can truly understand a situation and form an appropriate strategy to turn it in your favor. Identifying these impulsive instincts will also help you to discover the goals of others. Impulsive actions, taken by others, offer insight into their goals. People are most likely to become provoked when their power or the likelihood of achieving their goals is under threat. Use your self-analysis to empathize with people in these moments, place yourself in their shoes and understand what drives them. Analyzing others. Along with empathy, using your self-analysis and lived experience to place yourself in the shoes of others, you can also recognize the behavioral patterns of others objectively. The introduction to this chapter offers a nice summary. Here is an opportunity to present the process of analyzing others in a more systematic manner. 1. Begin by observing and recording every action that a person takes. Provide yourself with as much data as possible. Include every unusual mood, action, reaction, and impulse. 2. Hypothesize obvious and suspected goals which that person many possess. 3. Test their actions in relation to these goals. Try to understand if the person is acting to achieve these goals, in which case your hypothesized goals are correct, or if the actions and your hypothesized goals fail to align, in which case you may need to consider that the person is pursuing alternative goals. 4. Predict the actions of a person, based on their goals and the behavioral patterns in the actions they take, you observe. Specifically, when something unusual occurs, try to predict how they will react. Analyze your success and failures in prediction. Where you fail, try to understand why the person reacted as they did, why you failed to predict that, and use it to inform your future predictions. 5. Repeat steps 3 and 4 ad infinitum, until you can accurately predict the behavior of that person. With this ability to predict the reaction of a person to a given event, it only requires your creativity to reverse engineer an event based on the reaction you wish to produce. The event might be as simple and innocent as mentioning a certain topic of conversation, revealing a piece of information, or thanking them for some work they've done. Cold reading. Cold reading is the practice of analyzing a person on a first meeting, or even a first glance. This is a particularly useful skill because it allows you to manipulate someone even in a single meeting. If you can analyze someone in a short space of time, to the extent where you can predict their reactions to a stimulus, you only need to provide that stimulus in order to achieve the desired result. Everyone already cold reads, to a degree. Using stereotypes, it is common and perfectly normal to form an opinion of someone based on their appearance, including the clothes they wear, the look on their face, the shape and size of their body, their accent, and even their ethnicity. The problem is that cold reading tends to be fairly inaccurate. You cannot guarantee anything about a person based simply on their appearance, and people are liable to surprise you. Effective cold reading is going to take practice and data. Make predictions about new people you meet, memorize them or quickly record them, if you have an opportunity, and then test them as you find out more about a person. Relate your findings back to your first impressions of someone and consider if there was anything you could have spotted, which might have given it away. Body language. Body language is useful as both a source of information and an approach to manipulation. It can form a part of both deception and persuasion. You have probably heard quotes like, "Body language makes up 55% of all communication," before. Although the number, 55%, is actually pretty useless, the message remains clear that body language is an important part of the way people communicate to one another. Considering the fact that body language is so important, it's no surprise that everyone is able to read body language and react to it, to some degree. On a subconscious level, you can probably already understand when someone disagrees with what you are saying, or is interested, or just wants to stop talking to you altogether. These cues are intended to be understood. Without that, there would be no point to their existence. However, there are important ways to read the body language of others, which can help you to analyze their intentions, even when they are attempting to deceive you. Facial expressions. It's a famous poker trope that everyone has a particular behavior which they exhibit when bluffing, a form of deception intended to lead opponent players to believe they have a stronger hand than they actually do. This is known as a tell. While there is some truth to this, and you may be able to spot giveaway signs to recognize when a person is lying. However, this will be limited in accuracy and, particularly in the poker, you might fall prey to a deception, in which someone is deliberately putting on a tell, in order to throw you off the scent. In reality, facial expressions tend to be extremely unreliable when determining if someone is telling the truth or not. They are easy to fake and don't offer much in the way of help when it comes to analyzing others. However, as a tool for manipulation, facial expressions happen to be somewhat useful. One general tip is to give people a big eyebrow raise and light up your face with interest upon greeting people. Most people greet one another with stern professionalism. It's such an easy tip, but raising your eyebrows and smiling at someone can create a lasting impression. There's no need to be obsequious, don't coo or gaze. Just show comfort, confidence, and project a genuinely positive reaction from seeing someone. The power of positivity indicates to others that you have a willingness to be constructive and helpful to others. People crave the influence of positive people, as a positive attitude breeds achievement. Reading body language. So, if the face is limited in reading the nonverbal communicative cues of a person, where should you look? The answer happens to be relatively simple: the feet. Most people reflect their desire and their attention by pointing their feet. If you sense something off about a conversation, and get the feeling someone would like to be somewhere else, glance at their feet and, if they're pointing towards the door, there's your clincher. Naturally, you don't want to spend all your time staring at someone's feet. But take a glance and use their position to recognize whether someone wants to be in the conversation or not. If they're pointing right at you, they're likely to be a lot more receptive to what you're saying. If they're pointing away from you, it's possible you might as well be talking to a brick wall. Now, the reason for that can vary. It doesn't necessarily mean they don't like you, they might just be late for another appointment or have other things on their mind. You need to use your learned analysis and incorporate body language to form a complete picture. You are now armed with powerful techniques that you can use in many different ways. Wield this knowledge wisely and judiciously.